Hello everyone, welcome to Dickson's Java 101 tutorial 23. And today I'm going to teach you how to find prime numbers and to prime every 10th answer on the line. So today is going to be a recap on using methods and the modular operator to find the every 10th data or answer and print it onto a new line. So today I'm going to ask you to enter a number, like for example 50, and we're gonna look for the first 50 prime numbers. So now I just want to ask you to write the method to find a prime number. To do that, we're gonna go public static boolean, and remember in the previous tutorial, public static data type and Boolean is a new data type that I'm going to be introducing. Boolean is simply a true and false data type. If it's true, return true. If it's false, return false. So I'm gonna create a method called isPrime, and then I'm just gonna put int number here. And make sure good coding practice you have and comment all the closing brackets, because we're gonna have a lot of brackets. Mustaches, and make sure we know which one is associated to the method. So closing is prime. I'm going to use a simple for loop to determine what is a prime number. And just a recap, a prime number is a number that can only be divisible by itself or 1. So for int divisor, I'm going to create a variable called divisor, and I'm going to initialize it to 2, and then we have divisor less than or equal to number divided by 2, and then divisor plus plus. So I got this from my book. This is the formula or the method to find what is prime. Closing for loop. I'm gonna go if number modulus divisor is equal to 0, return false. Because if the number modulus the divisor and the divisor is 2, if it's equal to 0, it means that it is an even number. It is not a prime number. Therefore, we're going to say return false in the boolean. Remember, boolean is return true or false. So we got the false now, and now we need to have the true, return true. So this is saying the number is not a prime number. Okay, so when is that closing if statement? Now we're gonna go out of the for loop and just gonna return true. There's once a number that is modulus 2, if there's a remainder, it means that this is gonna be a prime number. So I'm gonna go return true. So here's a completed method for isPrime to determine whether this number is going to be a prime number. So I'm just going to do a simple print statement in the main to show what I'm trying to do. So system.out.println the first 50 prime numbers are, I'm going to put a /n here, and I'm going to create another method called print prime numbers. And I'm going to say we want to print the first 50 prime numbers. So we got our prime isPrime method here to determine what is a prime number. Now we need to write a method to print every 10th data. So you can just create another method by writing things under the closing main. So first of all, I'm going to have a public static void. Public static void is something new, so this means that we do not need to return a return value. So we just go public static void print prime numbers. I'm just going to put int number of primes. I'm just going to go closing method. So first of all, we're going to create some variables. I'm going to also teach you guys and show you what is this final int. Final int means this variable will be constant and does not change. And once we have a final int variable, we have to put everything into capitals. So number underline of underline prime underline per line. So we want to tell the number of primes per line. We want it to be equal to 10. And we do not want that to change. Now we need to create a counting variable. And we'll set that to 0. So the number, so counting variable and we're going to have an int number because we're going to test the number for primeness. Good. A number that tested for primeness. Now we're going to use a while loop to keep on repeating numbers until we hit 50 prime numbers. In order to do that, we're going to use the while loop. So while count, which is from 0, is less than the number of primes. Which is here, because we're linking the print prime numbers to the number of primes. We're gonna go closing while loop. Closing while loop. Now we're gonna have if and else statements. If count modulus number per lines is equal to 0, this means that there's 10 data on the line already, and we want the 11th to pull it onto the next line. So we're going to use an if and else statement. Okay? So I'm going to show you that first. So if count modulus number per line, which is 10, is equal to 0. Closing a statement. We're going to have a print line saying it will be print if, not a print line, because we want to print each answer with a gap. In order to do that, we're going to have this little tab thing, which is %-5s. So %-5s is a little tab. We want to put a next line, we're going to put a / and then an n, and you have number. And I'm going to write a formula to find the number is a prime number using the method below. So we're just going to print the numbers first. Otherwise, once we have the if statement, we can just put else. anything that's not equal to 0, it means that we're just going to print it with a little gap, but not on the next line. So percent dash 5s and then number. And make sure it's a printf, not a print line, which is a print function. Awesome. So I've taught you how to print every 10th data onto a new line, and if it's not every 10th data, we just print it on the next gap until there's 10 data on the line, which is this. To determine if the number is a prime number, we're just going to use if this number, if is prime, because we're calling the method here. If is prime, that number a number is referring to this number. Okay, so just to recap, we're going to use an if statement saying that as a is prime method. We're calling the is prime method at the bottom, and we're going to use number as in number 2 here. But now, once we have a number that's determined is a prime number, we're going to increment count. Increment count just going plus plus. Now we're just going to have a closing mustache after the else statement. So closing if statement. Since we have a closing if statement and else if statement, now we just need to close the while loop. Before we close the while loop, we have to increment number because we want to find the prime number after the next number. So we're going to increment number by 1 by number plus plus, and then we're going to have our closing while loop. Let's move everything up here, and let's see if this works. Awesome. So the program is free of errors and it works. So the first 50 prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, up to 229. So just a recap. In my tutorial, you're going to have a print statement, what you're going to state about the program. The first 50 prime numbers are. Then you're going to create a method called print prime numbers. And you say 50 because I want the first 50 prime numbers to be printed. I usually like to create the is prime method at the bottom first because this is the easiest. It is very straightforward. If the number modulus divisor is equal to 0, this means that it is not a prime number because it can be divisible by 2, which is an even number. So therefore you have to return false under Boolean. And then after the loop, you have a return statement called true, because public static Boolean, you have to return a true or false variable. So once we found a number that is a prime number, we're going to use an if statement. If the if statement determines this is a prime number, we're going to increment count so we can know that the first 50 prime numbers and then the program will stop. This is the tricky part, is that you have to put the closing if statement after the if and else statement, after the printing method. So within the print prime numbers printing method, you have the if and else statement. Once you have that, you have to create your variables as well. So I created a final and number of prime numbers per line, which is equal to 10. And this is going to be constant. And make sure when you have a constant variable, all your variable letters and your alphabet is going to be in capital letters. And just use an underline to separate the two words. You are going to have a count variable, which I initialize it to 0. And we're going to have the int number, which is equal to 2, determine whether it is a prime number or not. So I hope you like this tutorial, It is very complex, but you just have to keep on practicing it. Thanks for watching and have a great day.